Hello and welcome into the WVLT Newsroom. This is today's Catch-Up Quick. I'm joined by First Alert meteorologist Sydney Sullivan, and we are, Sydney, going to get as close and as in-depth into this weekend snowstorm, and not snowstorm, but winter weather storm as we possibly can. So let's go ahead and start off with what we know right now when it comes to what we can expect. And actually, right now, as it gets closer to the 10 o'clock hour, we are getting the freshest model data in that we have to this point.
Exactly, which is great because we can now really fine-tune the forecast. We are still looking at widespread impacts all across the south in particular, but even for us, we start to see that transition from snow initially on Saturday, and then that will eventually go into freezing rain as the day progresses. So take a look at these alerts right now, all across the south, stretching from Texas all the way into our area, the Carolinas and Georgia, potentially seeing even worse impacts to our south and west. So I just want to point out, yes, we will see some impacts, but I think those are going to be the areas that see the worst of the impacts. As far as accumulating snow goes, I know everyone wants to see snow. I know, Will in particular.
Hand up, I want to see all the snow we can get.
Oh, I know, and that would really honestly be the best case scenario
at this stage, indeed,
in this forecast. But we're kind of on the line here, and that's been the tricky part with this forecast, is where the track of the system goes depends on what type of precipitation we see. So looking at our current alerts right now, this is actually, wow, this just got updated here right now. So now looking at the possibility of seeing a not only snow accumulation, but possibly into icier conditions. In fact, I'm going to toggle on our latest alert because, again, this just came in moments ago, and we are looking at the possibility. There we go. Now we have an ice storm warning. So again, this is the newest data that I am seeing right now, an ice storm warning in those purpler shades. So that is increasing confidence that ice is going to be a concern for us. So with that in mind, let's kind of break down the timing of things. And again, this is going to change. So moving into Saturday morning, possibly starting out with some snow. I think it's going to move in a touch later. So we're talking mid to late morning, some of us seeing that snow, but then as we approach midday and early afternoon, I would say most of us are seeing at least some sort of winter weather. Depending on where you are, if you're closer towards the Kentucky-Tennessee state line, yeah, you might see a little bit more of that snow last a touch longer. The rest of us, we start to see that transition into freezing rain. That's where things really get a little bit dicey for us, because freezing rain, a very different picture than sleet. Sleet's kind of, I always use the donut example. If you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's really just a great representation of kind of what we can expect. So think of freezing rain as like a glazed donut. It creates a glaze of ice on the roadways. Now, as we go into Saturday night, I do intend on that becoming an increasing concern because our temperatures are borderline freezing. So Saturday night into the start of Sunday morning, yes, you're seeing some rain mix in. Ultimately, that does help us out a little bit, but I'm still thinking Sunday morning, possibly going to be a very slick situation for many locations. So that's really the time frame, I would say, sundown to sunrise on Sunday. Now, as the day moves on throughout Sunday, we've got a lot of rain in the forecast. That's where we are seeing that slight adjustment with things, where we are transitioning into all rain for the most part throughout the day on Sunday.
And look at how heavy in point, Sydney, some of that rain is. Sorry to not point that out before you had already put it, but I mean, we have some red popping up, and so when we're talking about the amount of rain that we could be getting in this system, it's quite a bit. And you have to imagine if we're 1 or 2 degrees in a different direction, I don't want to put any words out there as not the meteorologist in this situation, but it does change some things.
Exactly, and that really is a good point, because now that this is transitioning into hopefully more of a rain event by Sunday, I wouldn't let your guard down, because like Will said, one adjustment one way or the other with our temperatures is key. But this is potentially a lot of rain throughout the day on Sunday. That's not only the concern for us. As this system works out of the forecast on Sunday, I want to point out there's a small possibility that behind the system, if that cold air catches up with the moisture, we could in fact see a brief transition into some light snow showers. Now, this particular model, not necessarily picking up on it, but I just want to point that out as a possibility. Again, this forecast is ever changing, but any bit of rain or whatever has fallen Saturday and Sunday it's not really going to have a whole lot of time to dry. So one thing that I'm still looking ahead to is Monday morning. We're looking at temperatures in the teens. So there is that possibility of refreezing, black ice as a possibility moving into early next week.
Right now, where you stand, obviously more model data to come out, and you all have been saying really in the week, we don't really know what's going to happen with this until we are in the situation for sure. What is your biggest cause for concern as we sit here at 10 o'clock on Friday?
Yeah, I would definitely say more of an icier setup is possible, especially for us moving into Saturday night and into Sunday morning. But in addition to that, with that moisture all throughout the day Sunday, we could possibly see further impacts early next week.
There is so much going on, and kind of, Sydney, as you and I talk, we're waiting this news conference right now from Knoxville city leaders on how they plan to handle this event. It's also complicated because pretty much if you're in the Valley right now, one of my college roommates who lives in Nashville was joking with me. He's like, how all of a sudden have you all dodged the worst of this? And I go, I don't know, ask the meteorologists. But it's funny to say that, but it also is if you're, say, Cumberland County, Fentress County, Scott County, Claiborne, Campbell, those counties, your firing line's probably not the right term, but for lack of better, right in the smack dab of the most dangerous situation. If you're in Blunt, Knox County, Loudoun, maybe a little bit of Roane, probably looking at rain.
Yeah, exactly. So it really is dependent on where you're located. I will say with the slight update of now being under an ice storm warning, it's been a hot minute since we've seen that. So hot minute, lack of a better word there, but it's one of those things where we are going to have to watch that very, very closely.
Awesome. Sydney's going to stick around. We are going to go straight to this winter weather briefing in the city of Knoxville. We'll return with you all here in just a short second.
Out for this winter weather briefing. As we all know, we have a winter storm coming. It's heading our way this weekend. And local meteorologists have been very careful all along about making snow and ice predictions. But this morning we have high confidence that the biggest concern that's facing our city and our community is going to be ice. So we want to just let people know that we are preparing accordingly. I want to reassure everyone that city crews are as ready as we can be and will continue to work throughout the duration of the storm to keep everyone safe. We're going to hear from our Public Service Director, Rachel Butzler, shortly about all the pre-treatments that have already happened throughout the city. But as you know, ice can cause travel concerns, so we are urging people to stay off the roads this weekend. Stay off the roads this weekend unless you have an urgent need to get out. That's the safest thing for you, and it's also the safest for our first responders. We need to keep the roadways clear for our police, our fire, our ambulances to address real emergencies so they can get to people to hospitals and so forth as needed. We also know that ice storms can cause downed trees, power outages, occasionally even roof collapses. So we want everyone to be as prepared as possible, and we'll share some information about how you can do that as far as just making sure your items are charged and you have emergency equipment in your vehicles and that you check on your neighbors. I think that's something that's really important for those of us who have the ability to get up and around and access grocery stores. We might check on our neighbors today to make sure they have what they need to be safe. And right now, we've asked each agency that serves our community to give a brief update, to go over some precautions that we can all take. And then after all of our agencies have had a moment to share information, we'll take some questions from the media. We're going to start things off with Knoxville Emergency Management Agency Director Colin Ickes, who has more details on the latest update from the National Weather Service and about our Emergency Operations Center. Colin?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. I'm Colin Ickes, Director of the Knox County Emergency Management Agency. We've been in constant communication with the National Weather Service this week. The latest update indicates that the winter storm will move into our area early Saturday morning with significant impacts beginning in the early afternoon on Saturday. As the Mayor said, ice is our greatest concern. It can make travel impossible and can bring down trees and power lines. We'll be standing up our Emergency Operations Center at noon on Saturday and will continue through the duration of the emergency. Our EOC includes representatives from all of our local emergency response agencies, as well as our partners from Public Works, utilities, healthcare, and others who are there to collaborate, work together, and provide the best possible response to the needs of our community during the emergency. We encourage everyone to take this time before the storm to update their emergency preparedness kit with particular attention to making sure you have food, water, and the supplies you need to stay put for a couple days. Also, please make sure that your electronic devices are charged, you have flashlights on hand, and you have warm clothes and blankets ready to be prepared for a possible utility outage. Now I want to turn things over to Rachel Butzler, Public Service Director for the City of Knoxville.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Butzler, and I'm the Public Service Director for the City of Knoxville. I just want to reassure everybody that we are fully stocked on our supplies of salt and brine. We started treating roads on Thursday, and we're continuing that through today. We're applying a brine pretreatment, and it effectively treats up to the first inch of snow. It also helps prevent snow and ice from attaching to the pavement itself. Salt will be used to treat any snow or ice accumulations that we see, as well as drying the streets on the back end of the storm. As we mentioned, the cold temperatures coming up, we want to make sure the streets are as dry as they can be. Once we get below about 20 degrees, salt and brine are not quite as effective. We have to apply more and more to get the same amount. So we want to dry the streets out as soon as possible. In terms of staffing, we have 24 large plows and spreaders that will be clearing the streets, as well as several response vehicles to any other situations that come up. We have 75 CDL operators ready to handle the streets, plus additional staffing to handle other non-street related emergencies. Also our operators, if we start seeing more downed trees and things like that, they can also operate the knuckle booms and the chainsaws to make sure that our streets are cleared. Just want to remind everybody, please stay off the roads unless it's an emergency. In the storms of 2024, people they have to abandon their vehicles or drive them off into the ditch, and that prevented our crews from being able to access and treat the roads successfully. So please just stay in unless it's an emergency. And just thanks to everybody for your cooperation throughout this, and please be safe. Up next, we have Assistant Chief Wilbanks with KFD.
Hey, good morning. I'm Mark Wilbanks with the Knoxville Fire Department. The biggest thing that the Knoxville Fire Department is doing right now is we are still making preparations for the incoming possible storm situations, and we are making sure our fire stations are ready to go, all of our fire trucks, our chains, and that kind of stuff are in place. Our crews are making preparations to decide if they need to stay through the weekend and what they'll need to do. We are fully staffed on each shift through the weekend, so we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes. One of the biggest things that we have to think about is if we have to go out on an emergency. So we want everybody to really practice good home safety techniques, using good heater safety techniques, not walking away from candles, not walking away from things that they're using to heat their home. And one of the biggest things is if you have a power loss and you're using a generator, make sure that generator is not inside your home, it's outside, you're using good extension cords. And of course, if you do need to heat your home, don't use kerosene or propane heat inside. That's only for outside. Those are designed for well-ventilated areas. So make sure you have something for an emergency backup heating. That's about all I have for you guys. I'll introduce Scott Erlin from the Knoxville Police Department.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all the work that you all are going to do over the coming days to keep our community informed and safe. We really appreciate that, and appreciate you for being here to help spread that message. From the standpoint of the Knoxville Police Department, we're going to stand up an operations center in addition to what Colin already mentioned, the EOC that'll be operational over that Chemo will have activated. We'll have an operations center open here to manage our resources and response. We plan, as of right now, to have that operations center open and active from 5 a.m. till midnight each day throughout this event, and we will adjust that accordingly if the situation deteriorates or worsens. We will evaluate the conditions throughout this event and transition to the snow plan if needed. In that event, if we do have to activate the snow plan, we'll notify the public that we have done that. That would be our officers pairing up in two-person cars and more closely monitoring calls for service and divert some non-emergency calls to other resources. Of course, as already has been said here, is I know this weather system has been really perplexing for some of the forecasters, but we really expect this to be more of an icing event at this point. And the significant icing is our greatest concern, hazardous road conditions that could create, as well as power outages. If there are significant impacts, I want to encourage everyone to avoid the roads if at all possible. If you can stay home, stay home. If you absolutely must go out, then please do so and drive slowly and attentively, and don't take any unnecessary risk. Also, as Mayor Kincannon already mentioned, check on your friends. Right now is a good time to check on your friends and your neighbors, and just take care of all of those people you know in your lives. We could see a wide variance. One thing we learned from the weather briefing yesterday is we could see a really wide variance in impacts in different parts of the community. There could be parts of the city that are impacted much more heavily than others. So it might be fine at your house, but in other parts of the community it might be a lot worse. So really important to check on your friends and neighbors and understand that before you go out and hit the roads. And as a reminder from our standpoint, the men and women of our department are here to help. If you need anything at all, anybody in the community needs anything at all, we're here to help. Don't hesitate to give us a call. And well, I think we're prepared and ready to go. I'll throw it next to Aaron Reed.
Thank you. I'm Erin Reed, head of the Office of Housing Stability. I'm here to address concerns about unhoused individuals and households during this time. Friday night, tonight, we do have warming centers open to supplement the capacity at Knox Area Rescue Ministries and other partners. Saturday night, given the potential difficulty of travel, we have consolidated warming center operations into the North Broadway corridor. We have several partners who are opening up space for about 600 individuals. We think that that will cover the number of people who will be seeking shelter at that time. They will all be indoors. As of Sunday night, all of our warming center locations will be back up and running, or are planning to be, depending on whether travel is possible. And I'm going to hand it back over to Mayor Kincannon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for the updates. As you can see, we have a winter storm coming, but we are as ready as we can be, and we trust that our neighbors across the community will, again, be checking on neighbors who might not be able to get out to the grocery store or shovel or salt their sidewalks. So just look after your neighbors. I guess if we're going to have a winter storm like this, I'd rather have it start on a Saturday than a school day. So we're really grateful that this won't affect school for today, and we'll see how things shake out over the weekend. And I'm happy to answer any questions, or if other people have questions for individuals represented here, we're ready. You have any questions?
Can I check my mic, because it's not working, just before any questions are asked?
Yeah, I don't know which one is yours,
Sorry,
but
thank
yeah,
you.
go for it. Okay. That's an easy question. Any other questions?
Sorry.
Oh, wait, you want to wait to see if your mic's working?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's like
That's
we
okay.
can't hear anything.
Okay.
Testing. It sounds, oh, no, yeah, you're right. I don't know how to fix that.
It is a nice thing that we have the public safety complex. KEMA, police, fire are all right here. We have this media room to make sure we can keep you all informed. We're really grateful for that. As I was driving up here, I saw the streets were brined. You can see it, and that's what brining looks like, just little marks on the asphalt. That's a salty water mix that, makes it so things don't melt quickly, and keep the streets as dry as possible.
Why don't we go ahead on with questions, and you can
Yeah.
remind your viewers, this is streaming on the City of Knoxville's Facebook page
Okay,
in the
thank you.
meantime.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Some of the primary concerns that the city is aiming to address, not just before, but during and after the storm?
Well, we want to make sure that our first responders can deal with emergencies, whether that's addressing like a tree that falls down over a road or on a person's house, or helping our police and fire address, emergencies, a car crash, getting people to hospitals. So that's our top priority, just making sure that the most essential things that need to happen, that people can get life-saving treatment. So we're really focused on that, and that's why we do encourage people to limit non-essential trips and check on their neighbors, and then keep the roads clear so our public service crews can brine and clear them, and that means our first responders can get to what they need to get to.
I have a question about warming centers.
So how many total beds are available for this weather event? I know you said Saturday there's enough for 600 individuals. I also wanted to know how many warming centers total will be open throughout this weather event. And we can answer that. I'll ask my final question after.
Aaron, you want to come up and get to those specifics, please?
It's going to depend on the night. We have been consolidating operations when we think travel is going to be difficult to minimize the number of volunteers that are trying to get around town. Tonight, we have 2 warming centers open with a 3rd location ready to open should capacity be needed. For Saturday night, all warming center activity is consolidated to that North Broadway corridor with Knox Area Rescue Ministries, Volunteer Ministry Center, Salvation Army, and other partners. As of Sunday night, all 5 of our warming center locations are expected to be back up and running, contingent upon road conditions, of course.
And how many volunteers would you say you have?
Each one of the sites has dozens of volunteers. I don't have an exact number to give you, but I do know that this year we have had an immense volunteer response and have been so grateful to the community for that.
And my final question, what's been the partnership between Knox County and for unhoused individuals who might be outside of city limits?
So, in general, in times of very difficult weather, we try to communicate with homeless outreach teams, first responders, hospitals, and ask them to encourage unhoused folks to get somewhere where they have access to public transit. Knoxville Area Transit has been one of our most important partners. They are providing free transportation any afternoon and evening that warming centers are open, starting at 3 p.m. And in the mornings, they provide, they've been providing us with hundreds of single ride bus passes for anyone who's at a warming center who needs to get somewhere else. So in terms of out in the county, simply because there's no public transit, it's a lot more difficult.
I just have a question for the city. How are you guys prepping for the extreme cold that follows the storm?
Well, we're pre-treating all of our streets. Level 1 and level 2 have already been done, and I think level 3 is happening now, and that will help, hopefully, even if the temperatures drop considerably, that will help hopefully keep the ice and snow from adhering. Of course, there are limits to that. If it stays really cold a really long time, we don't know how much precipitation there will be, and that's why we're encouraging folks to stay home. And that's why we also have a plan for unhoused folks to stay inside so they stay safe too. So that's our plan. Again, limitations of temperature and amount of precipitation are unknown, but we are, again, as prepared as we can be. The streets have all been pre-treated. I've noticed also on state routes, such as Broadway, those have also been pre-treated by TDOT. But the safest course is stay home unless you have an essential trip to make.
Any other questions?
Are there any concerns about people losing power, and what advice do you have for people who might lose power during the storm?
Well, I think that Mr. Ickes gave advice like to be prepared, charge up your electronics today, have blankets, have flashlights, have those sort of things already. And also know that I know KUB has their line operators up, ready to go and do the repairs as fast as possible. And just know that when the power's out, they know right away, and they're already trying to prioritize and fix those and repair those as fast as possible, and they will prioritize it based on the most acute need. But the best thing is to be prepared, check in on your neighbors, have flashlights, blankets, and charge things up tonight, and that hopefully any power outages would be of a limited duration. KUB has a lot of information on their webpage. They will also be participating in the Operations Center. The Emergency Operations Center has our utility entities out there. So if there's a power line outage, something across the street, police and fire will be there to, make sure people don't go across that street while the line workers are operating. And they work round the clock, all night long, all weather. So just try to be prepared and be patient.
Any other questions?
What's the plan for CAT services?
CAT's operating as normal unless things unfold differently, and we'll keep the public posted and the media through the city website and communications.
We saw that CARM is offering rides. Could you tell us more about those rides? Is that for anyone who wants one?
CARM does offer some transportation. There are also a number of local churches who have stepped up to provide transportation. The level of that is going to really depend on the amount of ice on the roads, especially with church vans. I mean, they really cannot travel if there's ice on the road. So there will be some level of transportation assistance. I know that for sure. I just can't tell you how much that is until we know how much ice there is.
I have a question about the emergency operating centers. Just to clarify, there's only one or is there two?
We will be staffing the Knox County Emergency Operations Center, and that is the point of multi-agency coordination for the entire city and county. As Scott mentioned, the Knoxville Police Department is also standing up their operations center, and I'm sure he can provide more details if you'd like them about KBD specific operations.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how many folks are staffed for the KBD EOC.
Yeah, sure. Well, we'll have staffing in the EOC, which again, Colin has already detailed in terms of that's a collaboration with all the numerous agencies that are involved in the response to any severe weather event. Our operations center is where we're specifically focusing on what's happened in our response, managing our resources, what are the challenges in the environment or in the out in the community that we can respond to. So we will have staffing in the EOC run by KEMA as well as our own operations center to just more specifically manage our own response. Does that help clarify that?
Yes.
Any final questions? Okay, well, thank you all for being here. Thanks for keeping everyone informed, and I'm sure more updates to come when we have more information, but stay safe out there. Thank you.
Well, there you just had the Friday update from all of City Knoxville's leaders and folks invested in the community. Will Puckett alongside First Alert meteorologist Sydney Sullivan. Sydney, the most important thing to note here, I think, was one of the things that Mayor Kincannon said there at the end is the safest course is to stay home unless you have any central trip to make. You and I were talking just a little bit there while we were listening to that news conference, and I want to go ahead and get us to Max right now so we can see this specific, and we'll take this full screen in just a second, but you said this specifically is a big deal.
Exactly, because it's not really an upgrade to a winter storm warning, which we are seeing for our friends a little bit further to the north of Knoxville and west, but now an ice storm warning. So this is just confirmation that ice is looking to be one of the primary concerns for us for Saturday into Sunday and potentially beyond that, with possibly seeing some refreezing into early next week. So this is a big deal in the sense that we are seeing that. And even though you're not seeing some of those counties highlighted, they are in fact under the same alerts as many of us. So whether it's a winter weather advisory, ice storm warning, or a winter storm warning, we've got it all.
Let me ask you this, because I think some people are going to be looking at all of the colors in this specifically. Sorry. No, you're good. Though, why, right along the Smokies, why are we looking at Monroe, Blount, Sevier, Cocke, and Greene counties not included in any of this, but they also don't have anything that would lead to, I mean, you're in the Smokies, so obviously you have that orange, but why are there a handful of counties that don't have any indication of anything?
So have no fear. So with a new update, they are actually under alerts. I'm not sure why this one isn't populating. So if you're seeing that right now, that is mainly because I guess we just don't have our winter weather advisory highlighted, but okay. Those areas are under a winter weather advisory. So when you look at stuff like that, I know it's a lot of terminology. Basically, it's just kind of summing up where we're seeing the worst of the impacts. So the ice storm warning definitely going to be a bit more of a concern for us, especially leading into Saturday night and Sunday morning. So area-wide, we're seeing those impacts. I also just want to show this graphic, and I know it's a little bit daunting when you see the big picture of it, but I also want to point out a couple things with this. Areas to the south and the west, those are likely to be a little bit more of a higher impact for us, but not to take that lightly. Here at home, we will see icing throughout the day on Saturday, especially late afternoon and into Saturday night. So again, this is going to be one of those situations where it may start out okay, but then things will drastically change as we head on into Saturday night.
And we're looking at the ice, at least from what we're projecting. I know the city's news conference made it sound they're expecting ice to be the biggest impacts. You all are too. But specifically in what we had a conversation of in our morning meeting today is that, look, the times where the sun is normally up, not saying that you're going to be able to see the sun, but in daytime hours, is not the point of major concern. It's when the sun goes down is when everybody needs to be hyper-focused, specifically what we're looking at.
Exactly, and that's a good point to bring up because Saturday into Sunday, our temperatures are borderline freezing throughout the daytime. I want to show you this model. It's just guidance, not necessarily set in stone here, but this is the ice potential. And this has been something that has continued to increase, not only with confidence, but with amounts of ice. And when you're seeing stuff, you're like, okay, a quarter of an inch doesn't sound horrible, but when you think of a layer of ice, this is the kind of weather that you do want to avoid travel. This is going to impact you throughout the day, Saturday into Sunday. Right now, the National Weather Service is also highlighting potentially a quarter of an inch to a half an inch of ice, all said and done. Now, again, this is guidance. This is going to fluctuate and really depends on how much snow works in and how much rain ultimately mixes in. But this is a lot of ice.
Yeah, a lot of ice, and there's so much guidance out there that's going to help show you just exactly what we're looking at as far as here's where you can slide, here's what happens. But it's just basically a rule of thumb. When there is ice in the forecast, travel is highly not advised. Look, you can travel in snow, you can drive in snow, take it low and slow and easy. If you have a four-wheel drive vehicle in snow, it usually might help you a little bit. But it doesn't matter if you have a tank in ice. Even tanks can start sliding around. But another thing, too, that we want to touch on is this graphic shows, we said this morning on WVLT News this morning, about 150 million people in this country alone are under a winter weather alert. That is about half the population of our country is in this winter weather storm. It just shows how wide-ranging this storm is.
Yeah, this is a massive system. So we'll start to get a little bit more indication of kind of how things are going and the track as it really gets going throughout the daytime today over near Texas, and then eventually all these areas highlighted. We'll see some sort of winter weather. I just want to bounce back to the ice potential though. You've heard me mention it a few times previously.
Just a couple.
But one thing that is just a good reminder is when we get weather like this, whether it's snow or ice, when I lived in Syracuse, here we go, I'm going to pull it out, is do not drive faster than you're willing to slide off the road at. And it was such a good piece of advice for me being from the South, never really driven in winter weather like this. And you don't want to be driving at all if possible. But if you have to, just know that you can slide very quickly and you don't want to be sliding at 50 miles per hour.
Yeah, it becomes super dangerous at points. All right, we're going to bounce around. Sydney's going to stick with us, but we've been doing a handful of reporting on just the impacts that you might see. Another thing that you heard in that news conference is the concern for ice and then the concern for power outage. They gave some really good guidance on what it might look like, some things that you want to stack away in your house. We actually, our Sade Ray caught up with Knoxville Utility Boards and Tennessee Valley Authority, just talking about what you can expect, how they're preparing for the storm. Here's what they told her.
The crews will work around the clock. It'll be all hands on deck at KUB. They will work around the clock until service is restored.
Power companies like Knoxville Utilities Board wants to make sure you're safe during this upcoming wintry weather. Liz Hanna with KUB says crews are preparing for long shifts in the cold. They'll fix outages as quickly as they can.
So all of the trucks are being taken to our transportation department on Friday. They're fully stocked with snow chains to provide for all of those trucks, as well as extra tools, chainsaws, and plenty of food and water for the crews to keep them safe and healthy out in the field.
Tennessee Valley Authority is also ready to help you this weekend. Spokesperson Scott Brooks says power lines should withstand wind and ice, but the main concern.
When temperatures fall, especially into the teens and single digits,
Brooks says that means more demand on the grid as people try to warm their homes. TVA has been working to lower the risk of rolling blackouts like the winter back in 2021. He says TVA has upgraded its power grid in the past 2 years.
When we have peak demand periods like we're expecting with cold temperatures, those units in particular are called on and are ready to go. These are state-of-the-art natural gas units that, again, are the best in the industry, and they are going to be available and ready to go when the temperatures drop.
Brooks says those natural gas units can kick on within 5 minutes. Peak times during the winter are the morning hours. Brooke urges you to avoid using major appliances like your washer, dryer, or dishwasher. This helps conserve energy and reduces strain on the grid.
All right, if you're sitting here and thinking, I mean, Sydney, we've had conversations all throughout the mornings of what happens if my power does go out. You heard in that news conference to have warm blankets, warm clothes on hand, a good idea to have a flashlight, maybe a candle on hand. But here are some other things you can do today, early tomorrow morning to make sure that your home is ready. Seal windows and doors. During a power outage, close off any unused rooms. So maybe think of like your laundry room or any other spare bedrooms that you might have, both for your apartment and your home, no matter where you live. Put on layers. It's pretty common, especially have a jacket ready. Charge your phone tonight. You heard Mayor Kincannon say it. Make sure that your phone's on charger. If you have one of those power banks, have them available. If you have the funds, maybe go out to a Target or a Walmart today and pick up one of those power banks to have on hand. And then write down emergency contacts. This is a serious situation, but these are good tips to have to stack away, even if this one might not be as critical as it could be in the future. Just some good things to stack away, but not trying to tell anybody to concern you about this, but just a good idea to have this on hand in case it comes in need.
Yeah, honestly, it's better to be prepared because this has been such an evolving system and things can still change, but right now it's looking to be likely a very impactful system all across our area.
We heard from first responders. We heard how the police department is getting ready. We heard how the fire department is getting ready. And this isn't just happening in Knoxville. This is happening all across East Tennessee, all across the state of Tennessee, even at that. But we did reach out to a handful of hospitals across the region to see sort of their winter weather preps and how they're prepared to handle this. We reached out to Tennova Healthcare. They tell us their hospitals remain open. We're talking North Knoxville in the Powell community and then West Knoxville in Turkey Creek near Farragut. They say they're open. Their skilled physicians, nurses, and other employees are all equipped to continue caring for patients in the hospital, as well as those who may come into their emergency department. They've secured surplus supplies, including backup generators and fuel to continue their services without interruption. If you're sitting at home and saying, I have a kid, they're going to go out maybe if we get any noticeable amount of rain, snow, again, that could change temperature-wise. Right now, we're not looking at it, but possibilities, or especially if you're watching us in McCreary County or up near Scott, Fentress, Cumberland, and saying, what about my children? Well, we reached out to East Tennessee Children's Hospital as well. They tell us that their hospital and ER will open as usual. Their urgent care facilities are going to open based on how they can access to you. So if they can open, they're going to do so. If not, don't worry. The hospital downtown, just off of campus, will be able to take you in and make sure that you and your kids are okay. But again, we're outlining all of this because as we've seen and as we showed you in Max, Sydney, the biggest concern is the ice threat. But you, having come from Syracuse in a previous lifetime, just be careful.
Yes, exactly. This is just one of those situations where y'all have had to bear with us with this evolving forecast. We are not alone. All meteorologists, it seems like across the South, have been dealing with this. And the impacts are still going to be there. So whether, and I also want to point out, it's really dependent on where you live too.
Yeah.
So if you're closer towards the Kentucky-Tennessee state line, likely a little bit more snow, but also ice on top of that. The rest of us, I think you might see some snow initially, but then that ice starts to really work in.
No snow that really matters if you want my opinion on it.
I agree.
And you also, and I think it was Scott Erlin who said this, but you could live in Farragut and see ice. You could live in Halls and see snow. You can live in South Knox and see rain. That's the kind of system that we're talking about. So it really, anywhere you live, you could call your friend, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents, mother, father, and say, hey, what are you seeing on the east side of town? It's going to be completely different from what you're seeing out in Hardin Valley. And so that's just kind of an idea. Sydney talked about, look, the recommendation is when you are driving, and especially in ice, don't drive faster than you're willing to slide. This is video shared to us from TDOT. I want to say this looks like Clinton Highway, but this is just an idea of them salting and brining. The city streets have all been salted and brined. I live out by a county road. It's been salted and brined. And then highways. Also, I was driving I-40 yesterday after work, and it's been salted and brined. We heard from Rachel Bustler with the city of Knoxville. She's the public services director. She said that the city, specifically in Knoxville, put brine down Thursday. They say that usually works up to about the first inch of snow in any ice that falls. The concern is when the temperature drops below 20 degrees, they have to supplement that salt and brine with sometimes calcium chloride, or just put a lot more down on the road than they would have to when it gets below that 20-degree mark. Their other critical thing they're trying to get to right now is to make sure that those roadways are dry, because that's another critical thing to this, is you don't have to worry about ice after it's fallen and if it dries out. But if it doesn't dry out, that's when the concerns become. The city itself has 24 plows and spreaders. They have 75 CDL drivers, so more than one driver per vehicle that you would need a CDL for. And so that just shows that they're getting the roads ready. I mean, you drive in from pretty much downtown every day. I'm sure 75 from downtown to the paper mill exits brine.
Yes, and the good news is, and I'm glad you brought this up, is today is dry. So today is great news as far as those preps go, whether you're trying to prep your home and yourself and your family or whatnot, or the roads in particular. And I know they're busy on the roads trying to make sure we are safe. But also just a reminder, if you can't travel, of course, try not to, but bridges are going to be something that we're watching into early next week. They tend to freeze quicker and easier, so that'll be certainly something to watch.
Bridges on and off ramps too,
Yes.
especially as you turn like that. Those are
Back
ones of
roads.
concern spots. One thing that I thought was interesting that Mayor Kincannon said, and we've sort of talked about it, is the fact that this is happening on a Saturday is a major blessing. Now, I know we haven't heard of any churches who won't hold services on Sunday morning, but fully anticipate that your church probably will not have. We'll be home churching it, as our friends and family say. But we do know, so we don't know about the impact on schools for Monday morning.
Right.
You can probably read the tea leaves and see, but we don't know anything about that yet. But we do know that Knox County Schools, the state's third largest school district, has canceled all school activities for Saturday and Sunday. Knox County Schools sharing this late yesterday. So we're talking any basketball games, any extracurriculars, if maybe there's a mathletes or an investigation team or debate team. All of those events will not be happening in Knox County Schools, specifically Saturday and Sunday. We have no guidance, parents, on what Monday might look like for your children in Knox County or any school districts across East Tennessee. Again, probably read the tea leaves, but we don't know just yet. We're going to have to get into this event to have an idea on how it's going to impact school districts across the region. Now, as always, you can stay up to date on all of those closings inside the WVLT News app and the WVLT First Alert Weather app. We have this QR code right here. You can press it. It'll get you to where you need to go to download that app. Also, 24/7, 365. You can have those good for you in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Look, Sydney, she's on air, but when she's not on air, she is crafting a forecast to put right into here. You all also put custom videos into there, Sydney, which is a really cool thing that I know that you all put a lot of work into, and going to be working after we get off here probably for a couple of updates in the app.
Yes, exactly. I actually will be making a couple updates before the noon show, but be sure to tune in on noon because I will actually be having a new update at that point as well.
You and Cameron gone shopping yet? You been to the grocery store?
I will say he went to the grocery store a couple of days ago, so we've made those preps. It's going to be a busy couple of days, to say the least.
One of my college roommates who lives in St. Louis, and they're projected to get a significant amount of snow. And he goes, man, all the food's gone at the grocery store. And I go, yeah, what do you think people do when this happens? The old adage is you go for milk and bread, but everything's gone. My wife, Sydney, went after work the other day and she goes, there's no ground turkey left. I go, yeah, because we went on Wednesday and not Monday. We sent our Jared Austin to a food city yesterday to get an idea of what they're seeing. They say that it's not just your staples that are flying off the shelves. Here's what they told Jared.
It's a common sound at the store, and it's constant this week.
Getting everything you can get before it gets gone.
East Tennesseans flocking to Food City and other grocery stores before the weekend weather arrives. You may think it's just on milk and bread, as the old saying goes. It's not even close.
They buy anything. When it comes to snow, they pretty much get everything that they can get their hands on.
Many are staying prepared, like Faye Norton.
I got most of my groceries yesterday, and I'm just getting ready to stay in.
Others aren't following that normal grocery list.
Getting the bread I don't normally get, and getting a lot of other stuff I don't normally get.
Seymour's Food City manager Kenny Green says they're seeing 3 times their normal business. So how are they keeping up?
We're pretty much getting shipments every day. Certain days you get dry goods, other days you get the perishable items. So we're always got a truck coming in.
As people come to stock up their pantries and fridges, some shoppers have hopes maybe it's all for nothing.
I'm hoping it don't do nothing and we all fool about it, you know?
All right, that's our Jared Austin reporting. And so it's just, again, a good idea that maybe try not to buy perishables. So maybe a couple of those snacks. Olivia was joking that she has these protein bars that she likes, and she tried to go get her protein bars at her grocery store, and they were all gone. And she goes, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, those won't go bad that fast. And so it's things like that that go pretty quickly. We want to go ahead and get you one more time. If Spencer Denton, First Alert Chief Meteorologist Spencer, is in Sydney's show right now, going to have to give him a little bit of heck for this, but
I'm checking a couple updates, but here, that's okay.
okay, it looks like he is still toying
he's
around
helping
with
me
it.
update some stuff, so this is good. This is great news.
When we get to that, we'll show you one more look at this. But again, the city of Knoxville says that they are fully prepared to handle this. They're going to open their Emergency Operations Center, the EOC, you'll hear it called, and it's actually the Knox County EOC. They're going to open that, I think they said, let me find my notes if I can read my own handwriting, at noon on Saturday. They open the Knox County EOC. They're recommending food, water, supplies to stay put for a couple of days in your home. Warm clothes, blankets, all of that, things to put on your head. Again, head is where a lot of your body heat escapes from. I usually say 80%. I don't know if that statistic's right, but that's what I tell her, Jared Austin, all the time. Another thing to note, that if you know people who are seeking warming shelters in the city of Knoxville, they are open tonight. However, Saturday, they're only going to open the warming centers in the North Broadway corridor. They have about 600, the capacity for about 600 people. They say they're confident that they feel that that is what is going to be enough for people in the city to stay warm. CARM, Salvation Army, Volunteer Ministries, etc. in the North Broadway corridor. Again, that is specifically for Saturday night. They say Sunday night, weather dependent. They're confident that that will be back open. Knox Area Transit will operate as normal this weekend. Mayor Kincannon said, do stay tuned to the city's everything that they need to make sure that you can see just what exactly they need. And if that changes, they'll let you know. The Knoxville Police Department is opening its own emergency operations center just to make sure that they have their ducks in line, but they'll also be working out of the Knox County Emergency Operations Center. And so all of that is good to ready. It's good to go and ready for you to be able to rock and roll from there. Still waiting on Spencer to get out of here. But Sydney, as we talk about anything that they said in that meeting, because I know you were listening to it a little bit, anything that stuck out to you outside of the obvious?
Yeah, I think I just really can't emphasize enough. Traveling this weekend, try to avoid it. It is going to be icy. I'm looking at a period of time where we've got several hours of possible freezing rain. Yes, it may mix in with a little bit of rain, but I'm still not necessarily saying that's going to help us a whole lot Saturday night in particular. So quite a few hours of freezing rain that is going to cause quite a bit of issues, and I'm already anticipating those. So I'm trying to make those plans. Okay, how are we getting to work this weekend? You know, things like that as well.
Again, the city, TDOT, and the county have all worked to put down salt brine solution. That's a mixture of salt and water. The idea is to try and keep up to 1 inch of snow and ice. We're not looking at 1 inch of ice necessarily in East Tennessee. The other key to that is, look, 40, probably going to be okay. Kingston Pike in most points, Middlebrook Pike, Broadway, Strawberry Plains, state-owned routes, highly traveled city and county routes, most likely going to be okay. If you are up on areas, probably say Nubbin Ridge, or areas deep into the west side, deep into the north, east, south, not a whole lot of sunlight, covered by trees, those are the areas you have to be most concerned, especially as we get into the morning hours. The largest concerns when that sun goes down. It might be okay during the day. You might get out and say, you know what, I'm trusting, I'm going to go to the gas station, go to the grocery store, do a couple of things real fast. The second that sun typically goes down is going to be your largest point of concern as the morning progresses.
And even moving forward for next week, we're talking temperatures in the teens, potentially single digits for a few locations. So even past the system, that continued concern will be there.
And the city saying 20 degrees is the point where it becomes additional work to get that salt brine solution and everything else. So Spencer is still hammering away on Mac, so we are going to skip just right here to where you can download the First Alert weather app. Again, Cindy, you said about an hour 15 until WVLT News at Noon airs. What can people expect to get in the app right now?
Yeah, so within the next 20-30 minutes, so right before the noon show, I'm actually going to have a new breakdown of timing with what we're watching right now and who can expect to see what type of precipitation. So lots going to be unpacked with that next update, but especially stay tuned for our noon update. Then, of course, Kyle and Spencer will both be here later this afternoon to give you any further details.
We are just under an hour away from a TDOT news conference at 11:30 that we will bring live to you right here on WVLT Plus and have updates for you on WVLT News at Noon and all throughout our early afternoon and evening newscasts beginning at 3:30 right here on WVLT. We appreciate you joining us. You can stay up to date inside the First Alert weather app and in the WVLT News app. You all stay safe and again have those ready to go as this winter storm moves through East Tennessee.